Welcome to my three-part series on taking control of your life and building the life of your dreams. In this part, we'll discuss how counterintuitively being the most selfish person you know is the best thing for you and everyone around you. The Oxford Dictionary definition of selfish is caring only about yourself rather than other people. That's exactly what I'm going to advocate for in this video. But hear me out, because there are different levels to this. As you develop your consciousness, my claim is that you get more and more selfish, but that at the same time it's seen that selfishness is relative to the person judging its circumstances and up-to-date conditioning. Either the individual judges itself, thought self or I explores your internal thought structure and finds a thought, for example, doing XYZ is selfish or not selfish, or that other, an external person, projects selfishness onto you. For example, sees you doing something. Their created self in their own mind, or I, thought, searches its own thought structure, finds through a variety of thoughts and past experiences that your behavior is either seen as selfish through its lens or not selfish. Either way, it's that self projecting onto you, not truth. That's exactly the same for all judgment. Either this way or a learned defensive mechanism can arise to certain spoken concepts or beliefs of another, and then an individual plays out its defense mechanism. The point being, anything that comes out of that person's mouth is a reflection of them, not you. And this is essentially the same for you. Anything you say about someone else says more about you than the other person. Let's go through a few examples now. Start with the richest man, Elon Musk. Some people will say he is extremely selfish. Perhaps his ex-partners, perhaps workers who were fired from Twitter when he took over, perhaps his 10 kids or whatever he's up to now, as he doesn't spend as much time with them as other dads. Another person will look at Elon and say he is the most selfless person, devoting majority of his time to advance human society. He's made electric vehicles sustainable and cost-effective. He's building tunnels to declutter traffic. He's delivered internet to every part of the world, no matter how remote. He's advanced free speech by buying Twitter. So an individual's own biases is what impacts if Elon is selfish or not. And if enough people in society have biases one way, then the collective society will conclude that yes, he's selfish, or no, he's not. But at different times in history, he may be judged differently, for example. So the truth of if he is selfish or not is essentially relative. Another example could be monks who leave their families and society in search of truth and God. Are they selfish? What about the ones that come back to humanity and help others awaken? Again, the friends and family may call them selfish. The people that benefit from the individual's journey may call them selfless beings. Again, it's relative. Last example, a patriot who loves his country, fights wars for his country, comes back and suffers from trauma and pushes everyone away, loses his family, gets addicted to opiates and spirals. On one hand, you could say he gave everything to his country, so he's selfless. On the other hand, I doubt the country he was fighting would say the same, or his family and friends who got pushed away or traumatized due to his inability to process his trauma. So again, we can see selfish and selfless is based on your own or others' perspectives. It's not based in a complete truth. There are outliers to this, where behavior cannot be considered selfless to almost anyone among the 10 billion of us. Straight killing of another for some stupid reason, or some other savage act I cannot speak of on YouTube, which I'm sure you can imagine. We are not talking about those outliers as they most likely wouldn't be watching this video. Also, there are ways to understand them, have a form of acceptance in the context of moments versus totality of a person and thought structure. But that's a separate video that won't apply to 99.99% of the population. So we'll continue here knowing that another step would be needed for them to build a life beyond the act of savagery. But adding another full 30 to 40 minute video and the work required to explain it and make it understood and accepted by the general population isn't where I feel like teaching is most urgent, and is better explored in a therapeutic setting for those individuals one-on-one. It's important to mention these outliers though, as you may have been watching thinking of a scenario of an individual where you consider their behavior completely selfish and struggle to move past that and accept the truth of the relative nature of selfishness, and therefore you wouldn't get the benefit of the knowledge in this video if I didn't explain that aspect. So now we can clearly see that whether a person is selfish or selfless, in 99.99% of cases, is in the eye of the person who beholds it. Combine that knowledge with the understanding of my first video on how the mind of an individual is formed, which I won't go into depth here, but we can say is based on circumstances and up-to-date conditioning. We can see that it's based on an individual's experiences in life as to if they judge you as selfish or selfless. Also, you judge yourself and have your own beliefs on whether or not you are selfish. So, being selfish is relative to your past or others' past. Now, an example of what would commonly be called selfless, I want to explore how seeing it can actually be selfish. To give us an act of a person, rather than looking at the person overall. Donating to charity. How many people donate to charity because they feel bad when the guy knocking at the door comes and asks for money for children? Or because they can mention how much they've donated and they can gain social status from that? What about people that donate to get their name on a building or a hospital wing, or donate to church because they believe they'll get some benefit in the afterlife? What about this? People that donate because it makes them happy. That's still selfish. They are donating because it makes them happy, not because they care about a child they'll never know. I say that because children die every day, and you don't care about that. No one even thinks about it unless they know of the child and have an attachment to the child. Okay, so what if they do know them and they donate to save a friend's child? Does it make them happy? Or are they also now subtly knowing that the person they donated to will see them differently, potentially appreciate them more or love them more, etc.? Throughout these examples, when we contemplate on if we should donate or not, if we have extra money, are there any ways we can win-win in the examples of what we've covered so far? Let's look at this from the perspective of the truth. Check my video of truth to understand this more, but we know if we watch that, if we have a foundation of the four truths, I exist, everything is now, everything is one, and everything changes except those first three truths, we have the foundation to work from. So if we decide to take action, and if we start operating in a way that is out of alignment, if we are constantly watching our thoughts and regularly journaling on moments that feel out of alignment, this is our best path to keep our worldview as close to truth as possible. If I donate because I will get social status, even unconsciously, if I donate to inflate my ego essentially and have others think differently about me, if I'm constantly looking and asking, do my actions align with the truth, which is a dissolving of ego, and living in the truths we foundationally located in our video on truth, we'll see as we start parading our donation, or that we can't help but to tell people around us that actually, no, we are not dissolving ego. Our donation blew up our ego. It added to our ego and took away from the truth we are working to align with? What about because we feel guilty when the man or woman comes knocking? In that example, we have an ego that makes us feel bad. We now again build that I feel better now because I donate. If someone ever asks me to donate again, now I have a reason not to. Or if my mind tells me I'm stingy, I can reply, well, I donate $10.99 a week to save the children. This also builds ego, builds thought patterns in the mind, which again take us away from truth. What about if we do it because it makes us happy? This is also selfish, right? Does it build onto ego though, is the key here. It could. If, for example, you build a thought pattern around it, and that's why you are happy. If we think, I'm saving so many children, if they knew, they'd be thanking me. And then we feel happy for that praise coming from the mind. But that's building, taking us away from truth. And then what happens if you financially cannot afford it or want to prioritize another area of your life in future? Then the thought pattern that initially gave you happiness will now create another pattern. Now there are children that will suffer because I'm not paying my $10.99 a week, will be the new thought pattern, and you will feel sad and suffer. But if the truth is that you cannot afford it, or even that you probably could afford it, but you want to prioritize another part of your life, see, you judge it based on that thought structure, not the truth of what is needed right now, in the moment which is experiential truth. What if we feel happy we donate? Let's say we say to ourselves, okay, I won't donate to a cause that is an ongoing payment because I see the trap the mind will put me in if I do. But if I see someone asking for money and I have extra and it feels right in that moment, I will give. I understand that will make me feel good because the person will be thankful and saying nice things. But if I don't make a story out of it, I can feel happy they are happy and I move on with my day, not creating stories in my head about how great I am to keep feeling good about myself, not telling everyone how great I feel. And notice how quickly can I come back to neutral and responding without thought to each moment and reacting appropriately to each moment without the thought of I've given previously. If I pass them the next time and they ask for money and I say I don't have money and they get angry at me, I don't need to feel sad because they are sad. I can remain neutral or guarded because that is the best response to someone perhaps getting angry and aggressive. If they cry, I may feel sad, and that's okay as well, if that's what arises in the moment. As you walk on though, and they are out of your bubble of reality, can you come back to baseline? Be neutral, not thinking about them, not creating a thought that you couldn't afford to please them, so they are sad, which makes you sad. And that thought repeats all day and ripples through every interaction you have until that thought is suppressed or forgotten. They are happy or sad or angry based on their inner thought structure and its response to the world. You are the same. It's not wrong to be happy or neutral when giving money. It's also not wrong to feel sad or neutral when not giving money. In that example, the truth is you didn't want to give for whatever reason, and you do not have to give. If they react angry, it doesn't need to change your mood drastically, other than what is reasonable response to that individual moment. It doesn't need to create further thoughts that you react to after that moment is over. I think it's important to point out here as well, you don't have to be happy in the face of someone angry. You can, and I think it's fair to respond however is appropriate in that moment. But how quickly can we come back to neutral? How quickly does our mind stop making up stories to keep us feeling the same way we were in a moment that passed hours or days ago? That's the key. Once that stressful moment is over, can we come back to baseline or better sooner and sooner? Notice here as well, both scenarios align with truth. Both can be seen as selfish and not selfish. Both giving and not giving. But in both scenarios, we do what is best for us. When we give, people will say, he's not selfish, because that's how society sees the world. On the other hand, they may say, you are selfish for not giving. Let's say you're walking in a suit and don't give. Because society more so expects if anyone is going to give, it'll be someone who projects to the world they have money. When that person doesn't, they are judged harsher than someone who is, let's say, walking in scruffy clothing. That's a collective social belief, conscious or unconscious. I'll have a much more in-depth dive into collective societal beliefs and how an individual can escape from those if they choose in future. Now, let's take some more closer to home examples. Within yourself, it does require a lot of trial and error to build a life and thought structure that aligns with truth. You will make mistakes and piss some people off. Some rightly, some wrongly. So keep that in mind, as selfishness done right is beautiful. Done wrong is destructive. If you find collective society and people you respect and value their input are pushing back on a part of you that you believe is positive selfishness, you should deeply reflect on that and be skeptical of your belief. People who do this right will attract positive energy and start to move towards their highest vision more effortlessly. So just keep that in mind when processing how you're going to move forward selfishly in future. I'm going to give examples in 4 areas I value, and hopefully it'll be clear how these can be replicated in all other areas of life. We'll start with relationships, and really this needs a whole video, but I'll try my best to explain it here briefly. If you know yourself well, that means you understand your faults, what you need help working on, etc. What you are and aren't willing to accept in a partner. What exactly you want in a partner. Let's say the core to a person's thought structure. You look for exactly that. You are completely selfish to the point of not wasting anyone's time. You don't sleep around with women if it's clear they don't fit what you are looking for. If you then find someone who you believe could meet all the things you're looking for, I recommend asking yourself a question when anything annoys you with this person. Will this bother me in a month's time? If it will, have the talk with that person. Ask them if it's something they can change or have a desire to change. But don't frame it as, if you want me to hang around, then you'd need to change X, Y, Z. Are you willing? Because then you are adding in an element of bias that the person will then want you to stay. So they will say it even if that's not their desire. Just ask in a way that's more subtle, like, have you ever thought about not doing X, Y, Z? If they say, no, I like it, you have your answer. You don't want to be changing anything about the person ideally. But if you do, it needs to be 1 or 2 things, maximum, and easy to change things. If not, that's totally fine. Move on. And honestly, if it's a big thing, just leave. Don't even ask. It may seem selfish, but isn't it the best thing for both parties? Even if they can't see it, would you want to be with someone who knew you weren't what they wanted, but stayed with you anyway, just in case? Or was hoping you'd change, and if you didn't, they knew long term you wouldn't be the one for them? Even if you have to date many women over multiple years, or men, and sleep with none or very few, be ruthless. 90% will end after 1 day, I assure you, if you fully focus on your highest vision for your partner. Some might say that's selfish, but that's how you get the best relationship you've ever had. Finding someone where your thought structure fits perfectly or almost perfectly with theirs requires meticulous watching for a few months of how she reacts to things, not only that you want in a partner, but also how she reacts to you, to see if there are things within you that she doesn't like. If there are, you ask if she wants you to change. If she says yes and you don't want to change, then you leave. Even if she jokingly says something like, yeah, but we can work on that, for example, if you know you don't want to change whatever it is she doesn't like, you leave. Because you don't want to listen to someone get annoyed about the same thing over and over again your whole life, when you knew from the start you didn't want to change that. You don't want to play a role your whole life, live a lie your whole life, telling that person you'll change, or telling yourself, I am a person who wants to do XYZ thing that my partner wants, when that just isn't true. The person will cry, judge you for walking away, beg for you back, start saying, it doesn't matter. Be careful in these moments. When emotion is combined with words, it's generally wise to be extremely skeptical. When a person is calm and explaining what they like and don't like, who they want and don't want, when they react naturally to something without you telling them how to react, that's truth. That's the person you are signing up to. The most important thing, and I hope you feel this to your core, you want to be loved for who you are. All the good and all the bad. And I say bad in quotes. You want to love someone that same way, completely, for all their good and bad. You don't want to love someone only if they become someone else, no matter how small that thing is. You never want your partner, or yourself for that matter, to feel like you don't love her 100%. If you choose her as the one, after those few months of meticulously watching, you chose all the good and, most importantly, all the missing parts and the bad parts. And missing to you could mean something different to someone else. You may not need a girl that cooks or is calm when she's stressed, but someone else may need that. So it's subjective, as is bad. You can find someone that has almost no bad, by the way, and for sure no bad that will annoy you long term. Someone else might have dated that same person and found there were missing or bad things that individual did or didn't do or couldn't change, etc., that would have annoyed that person long term. Will you do stuff that annoys each other, even in relationships like that? Probably sometimes, but never long term. And being completely selfish with your relationship needs and finding someone that loves you that way and you love them the way they are will be the best thing you could ever do for your love life. Every girl you hurt along the way, respectfully, will be worth it. And it's not easy to do that. It takes honor and integrity not to sleep with women when you know they are not someone you want to be with. I don't want to demonize sleeping around. If that's where you're at and you're honest with someone about where you're at, that's fine. Just know that it adds something, an element to your search that may make the search more difficult, or may not, I suppose, depending on your mind. Next example is health. It might seem selfish to not want to eat donuts with the team, or during team bonding, not wanting to drink alcohol, etc. But in the pursuit of your vision, your dream life, which includes having a healthy body and mind, if it does, and I think everyone has to make these decisions for themselves, but it's something I'd recommend to include in your highest vision. You need to be selfish. If your co-workers call you selfish, that's their perspective, perhaps based on judgments of themselves that they can't say no, or a variety of other potential reasons they judge you. If you decide to work out by going to the gym in the morning, or by playing sport in the evening, and your partner or friends get upset because you can't watch TV or play games with them, and they call you selfish, let them. Question those relationships, but when you are consistent and choose yourself over what society or your friend circle or even your thought structure tells you you should choose, that's when you get a life that is beyond what 99% of people have. And it can and should align with truth. What is truth again? Living in the now, knowing you exist, knowing you are the one, and that everything else changes. Build on top of that truth positive thought patterns of healthy eating and going to the gym. Dissolve thought patterns that aren't serving us. Question them, journal on them, etc. Be super clear on anything we build into our thought structure, as that determines who we are and the life we will live. Once we've built a thought pattern and it's in alignment with truth as much as possible, then go hard on that. Making adjustments when things aren't feeling right, or when journaling or counseling sessions, for example, give us new insights. Aim to get consistent. Shape our lives to facilitate that, not other people's feelings or projections being allowed to facilitate it, or allowing our own thought patterns to block us as well. That's something to avoid. Part 2 of this 3-part series is creating your vision, and that'll be a crucial episode that will expand more into this dissolving and conscious building of thought structure. Third example now. In work, your career, how you financially exist. As with all other areas, you have to move at a pace that makes sense for you. Don't leave your job after watching this video because you want to move towards something you are more aligned with, especially as most of you will have a fair amount of work to do to get to the point where you can really have a sense for the path you want to take with your career. However, at times, you do have to be bold as well. If you are financially secure, you've got 12 months of expenses in the account, or you can find a way to financially support yourself and study, for example. Some countries have support for people like that, for example. Then don't be afraid as well. People around you want you to be safe and secure. That's normal. Most people fear taking risks and to leave a sure thing for the unknown because to them it seems scary. But if you've done sufficient thinking on a thing, have financial means to do it, then be selfish. Don't stay at a job you dislike because your parents wanted you to be something, or because the company needs you, or because you are scared of the unknown. You need to balance risk to reward. Can you cut your hours at the job you dislike to add hours into a hobby you want to turn into a small business, for example? When we discuss creating a vision in the next video, we'll discuss this more. A vision shouldn't be the next 12 months either. Our vision is going to be 10 years in the future. And it might be in 10 years, I want to be on the path to living in alignment with what feels good and earning a living from it. At the same time, what can I do now that will make my life now improved? So it's improving at both ends, essentially. Without a clear vision, though, you'll jump from one thing to the next in your mind. And that's the pain point. Forget jumping from one thing to the next in life. That's a problem as well, but at least there's action in that. Most people just jump from one thing to the next in their mind, and that's their whole life. They still stay at the same job. It's a constant tug of war in the mind. I can be more, but what should I be? You roleplay so many things. Some thought patterns you want to be survive longer than others, but you never try any, which means they continue to exist in your mind. From those thought patterns will stem regret, fear, overthinking, etc. Last example is spirituality. This is a difficult one. You may seek for some time for truth, for example. You might meet religious seniors, monks, etc. If you are all in on the journey for truth, that's likely to happen. What you'll find is that no one can show you truth, nor should you have faith. Anyone who tells you to have faith in their belief system or thought structure, you should be highly skeptical of. Anyone who you feel off with, trust that gut feeling and again be skeptical. There are multiple ways to find truth, God, self, universe, whatever word you want to use for it. But there are many, many more ways humans fool themselves into believing they have found it. Ultimately, you will have to do the work. You will have to choose who resonates and what information you choose to accept and don't. Doing spiritual work and listening to someone, absorbing their worldview and reciting it to others is like going to the gym and paying someone to work out for you. You'll never get what you're wanting. Only being absolutely selfish in your pursuit will you get there. If you upset a spiritual person, it's no different than upsetting a potential partner or colleague at work. Anyone who gets upset at you for pursuing your highest vision, in this case the ultimate truth or God, is likely someone that wants you to validate their belief system by believing what they believe, or something along those lines. Now, of course, this can also be wrong. If someone genuinely has the truth, they could get frustrated as well. Just knowing the truth doesn't stop frustration. But they are more likely to allow you to walk away, as they know the truth isn't something you believe. It's something you know, something you experience. And that person that knows truth doesn't need you to validate anything for them, to stick around and be like a disciple, to give their life meaning. You can't build a thought structure that sees truth. It's beyond that. You can, however, experience truth, then build a thought structure that supports it, which is what we're going to do here and in the next couple of videos. Another nugget I want to mention here is never let someone else be responsible for how you feel or what happens to you. Obviously, I understand that this takes time and it's not an instant factor. This needs a deeper exploration, honestly, but letting other people dictate who you are and how you move is something to be avoided. If you do allow this, which paradoxically is important as well, otherwise you fall into the trap of needing to constantly control, know within yourself that you allowed that. You allowed the other person to have that control. When looking back on it, ask yourself, what could you have done differently to change the outcome? Being completely selfish is the only way to achieve your highest vision. If you are true to that, you'll see a life unfold where you are connected with those that are vibrating on that similar level, with thoughts and experience that vibrate on that level. You'll attract people that align with you and the path you're on, because you won't have time for people that don't. And honestly, for the people that don't, that you choose not to give time to, that's the best thing for them. Even if they think they want time with you, why would they want time with you if they knew you didn't want time with them? So you're doing the best for them, even if they can't see it. This also fits with humanity as a whole. People who are chasing their highest visions and are doing their best to align with the truth are positive people who, even if it's just for a brief moment you pass someone, your energy and alignment with the truth is sensed. For some, it's hard to feel because they know they aren't in alignment with themselves. For others, it's fuel seeing someone like that. So again, completely relative, and I'll have a deeper exploration into what a person says is a reflection of themselves in future, and you should be extremely skeptical of others, especially those you don't know well or you haven't validated, have done deep work to understand themselves. Alright, I'm super excited about the next video on vision. I'll try and get that out as soon as possible and then work on part 3, which isn't completely clear yet. Hopefully in the next video I'll be able to speak more about it. Hopefully you've seen and understood that you need to be completely selfish in the pursuit of your vision. That is the best thing for you, for those around you, and for humanity. Keep in mind as well, your vision will change as you dissolve attachments and beliefs, etc., and as you try new things and see them as in alignment with the truth or not, in alignment with you as a thought structure. You will cause suffering for people. You will cause happiness for others. Some will judge you fondly, some critical, call you selfish or selfless. That's all their perspective. If you align with truth, journal and meditate on feedback from those you trust and things that feel worth exploring, adjust and change until you move in alignment with the truth of who you are, you're on the path. Thank you for watching. If you got something out of the video today, please subscribe for more. You won't want to miss the next video for sure. Share so the content can reach more people. Like and comment. I'd love to interact with you guys a bit more as my schedule allows.